What's up, folks? Welcome to 𝗬𝗏𝗠𝗏𝗀.tv. I have 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶 joining us today. This is going to be a killer show, folks. Everything Russiagate, Robert Mueller's death, kind of suspicious, right? And what's even more crazy about this, and I'm becoming a believer more and more as I go here, it lines up with the drops. With the drops. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶 will be joining us. Papadopoulos was a foreign policy advisor to Donald Trump 2016 campaign and was a deep state target. And now he's a key witness for the Russia hoax. And folks, all of this is beginning to come out, and it's just going to escalate more and more and more. This year is going to be a big, big year. So 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶 will be joining us very soon. Let me get through my whole spiel here, and then I'll bring George on. So first, folks, hit the notification button. Hit the notification button, folks. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, Venmo. If you have a question for me or you appreciate anything that I do here, putting my neck on the line, my Venmo is �D-ROD1977. �D-ROD1977. And When the Lights Go Out on Amazon. When the Lights Go Out. I wrote this book on my iPhone in less than a month. And it was published. It took about 6 months to publish. How to get an editor for the grammatical errors, because hey, yo, I'm just a boxer writing a book. Now I'm a boxer doing a podcast. Hey, yo. Also, folks, The Mexican Mix, my mama's book, that's on Amazon as well, so leave an honest review for that. Also, 𝗬𝗏𝗠𝗏𝗀.tv, there's a waiting list right now. We'll get to everybody. We had problems with the banks. We had problems with the visa processing. I mean, they are going after Patriots hard, folks, and it's all behind the scenes stuff that you don't know about. So there's a waiting list on 𝗬𝗏𝗠𝗏𝗀.tv right now. Get over there. Hopefully it's up and running today. We'll get to everybody in a timely fashion. But 𝗬𝗏𝗠𝗏𝗀.tv is absolute fire. The guests range from anywhere from 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶, Towner Watkins, Mark Cook, Carrie Cassidy, the Ghost. Dr. Artis is coming on with Dr. 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏. Man, Dr. 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏, clinical psychologist, body language expert, has profiled serial killers, prolific serial killers, sexual assaulters. That's the way I have to say it on YouTube. And we did Erica Kirk. He psychoanalyzed Erica Kirk. Wow. I didn't really need anybody to help me out with that one, but it was fun to do. Also, Pete Santilli's coming on. Ringside with Nino is this Wednesday, just in a couple days. The 25th, 5 p.m. Then General's Tent is the 27th with Daniel Brinkley. That's going to be fire. And I have an action-packed General's Tent coming up. So I got Sheila Home April. I got Gene Decode May. Maybe I'll bring 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶 on after that in June or something. I'll ask him. See if he wants to come up, because this Russiagate stuff is just going to just explode. It's already happening, folks. Everything's getting walked back to 2020, 2016. We're going to revisit all of that again. And there's no better phenomenal guest than 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶. So, folks, without further ado, you might want to turn it down or turn it up, baby. Yeah. Coming at you live from the apocalypse, folks. Yeah, baby, let's go. All right, folks, if you haven't done it yet, get your red light therapy. So, hey, guys, David Nino Rodriguez here. Boxing took its toll on me. Chronic back pain, fatigue, recovery dragging me down, watching family fight health battles. Yes, I think we all are. I think especially with my parents. Then Jonathan Otto got me on a red light therapy. Back pain gone, anxiety eased, skin looking sharper, weight dropping easier, even sexual health and vitality surging like my prime days. Well, that's a stretch. That was a stretch. If it was my prime days, I wouldn't be doing any podcasts right now. You all know where I'd be. Energy's explosive, better than fighters half my age, and that's true. These red light panels are NASA backed, FDA cleared, fast pain relief, inflammation drop, cellular healing, Hashimoto thyroid, 70 times more effective than supplements for hormone balance. Powerful for beating the big C. We all know what the big C is. Not just symptoms. Lancet Oncology shows about 400% increase in prostate success via photodynamic therapy. Supports common ones safely. No tumor promotion. Red light panels, 9 proven wavelengths, red and near infrared dual lights, highest irradiance, 3-year warranty, built forever, PEMF mats. Those have 8 coils. Those beat the 3-coil ones. There's 4 wavelengths of red and near infrared and far infrared heat, highest magnetic field, and a 9-hour timer for killer sleep. So you can fall asleep on these things. MedBed Hack combines for ultimate regeneration, joints, vitality, anti-aging, stem cells, weight loss, and performance edge. Man, if I had this stuff in my boxing days, there's so much stuff coming out now that I just wish I had back in my days when I was competing. Skip the 75 to 150 clinic ripoffs. That's what they charge you to go to these clinics and use these devices. Own it now. So go to myredlight.com, and start there, folks. And you can also get a PMF mat and sandwich it, and it's the MedBed Hack. That's what we're calling it, the MedBed Hack. All right, let me set my ghetto timer here. Ghetto timer, and let's get into this. All right. Folks, if I didn't bring this up, it wouldn't be honest reporting, right? It just wouldn't be. So I got to bring it all up. But in drop 2196, and when I say drops, we all know what we're talking about here. The drop of 2196. Goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. Goodbye, Mr. Mueller. Mr. Mueller. Bueller. How many of you remember that one? Mr. Mueller. Patriots in control. That was drop 2196. Is this a coincidence? I don't know. How many coincidences until it's mathematically impossible, folks? And there's been a lot. It's astronomical. I'm only stating the obvious here. That's all I'm doing. George Papadopoulos will be joining me in just a moment to shed some light on this subject. George was once a direct target of Russiagate and is now a key witness. He's going to tie all of this together for myself and my audience. So if you want to ask your questions, go right ahead. Super chats are welcome. As all of this is developing now, the Iran war is picking up speed and getting much scarier for a lot of people. We have oil prices skyrocketing, and the narratives are beginning for an impending terror attack. I don't know, maybe in California. I had Trader Girl Q on last night, and we were talking about the Golden Gate Bridge. You know, the banks, cyber attacks, all of that stuff. And who will they blame? Iran. Of course, we're at war with them. Of course it'll be Iran, right? I don't know. But California is a big target. So much so that the FBI is warning that Iran aspired to attack California with drones in retaliation of the war. As Californians remain on high alert, we have meteors falling from the sky in cities like Houston, and I'm hearing Ohio. And I'm hearing this is real. But, folks, if you watch, there's some videos that are coming out that look like, it looks like space junk or something that fell in Houston. It's pretty crazy. But my point is the narratives are beginning for some kind of false flag attack. What are they going to blame it on? I don't know. I find it really suspicious that the Denver airport was closed due to an electrical shortage. I don't know about that. Sounds kind of weird to me, especially knowing that they have a huge underground base there. But I believe it's all part of the production leading to the big event. A Black Swan event is coming. I don't think we can divert it. I don't think we can stop it. It's coming. So, will Trump soon be announcing a national emergency and sign an executive order regarding safe and secure elections? I think that's where this is headed. I don't have much faith in the Save America Act. I think this is going to go to an executive order, just my opinion. Let's bring on George Papadopoulos. George, how you doing?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure to have you. So you were the target, man. You were one of the main targets in this Russia hoax. Let's get my audience up to speed on this. Let's get them up to speed on this and explain. Let's just go back just a little bit and explain how this happened to you, why it happened, and when it happened.
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing I want to start with for your audience is to clarify what this really was, right? What you said, it was a hoax. It was obviously a hoax. but it was never an investigation. It was an operation. And let me explain what I mean by that, because this is extremely important for people to understand, especially as new documents get declassified, as this investigation continues to ramp up, as the grand juries continue to be impaneled, and people like Comey and Brennan ultimately get likely indicted. So
right, Comey just got subpoenaed.
Exactly, and that's where I'm going here. So historically, let me explain what goes on. The CIA, with the U.S. intelligence community, gets help from our allies, primarily, which is British intelligence, and intelligence from countries as part of this whole Five Eyes network, which is the United States, Canada, the UK, New Zealand, and Australia. These 5 countries basically have a system in which they are allowed to spy on each other's citizens freely, without any recourse or any issues that would circumvent laws in their own domestic country. So, for example, if you're the United States and you have a person that you want to be spied on, you lure them to the UK, Canada, Australia, or New Zealand, and then you have these countries go and...
How do you lure them? Just say, hey, you want a trip? You want to go? I mean, how do you lure them?
Well, for example, in the Trump campaign, right, you had a lot of people traveling, meeting with foreign governments, with our allies, right? Like I was meeting as a foreign policy advisor with members of the British government, the Australian government, etc. General Flynn was doing the same thing. He was meeting with the British in London. He was going to conferences. Carter Page, the same situation. So before I get into that, so going back to like the big story. So our intelligence community with our allies basically subverts elections and interfere in governments and overthrow governments. Historically, they've done it in Iran. They've done it a lot of times in Latin America, in Guatemala, in Chile. This is just a common tactic, and they use disinformation, misinformation, and interference in the election. So why am I bringing this up? The same tactics that our government did to those countries the last 50 years, they attempted to do to us in 2016. We were never part of some conspiracy with a foreign government. Our own government conspired against us. And by doing so, they tried to overthrow the will of the American people. They tried to overthrow an election and to basically choose and appoint a leader. And that's really why the story that we're talking about here today, Nino, is a 10-year-long saga that you would think just happened yesterday, because it really has affected so much in the world, in the United States, about the smooth transition of power, about surveillance abuse, about election interference, government surveillance, social media being used as a tactic to do that. I mean, what happened to us in the Russia operation changed the world forever, and it changed history. And that's something that I think people really have to understand moving forward as all of this begins to come out.
So how did they lure you? How did they target you? What methods did they use, George? How did they try to get you?
Yeah, so I was working for Ben Carson's presidential campaign first.
I love that guy, by the way. He's a good dude, man.
Yeah, no, Ben Carson's awesome, and I ended up working with the 2 winners, right? Because in 16, the people didn't want the establishment, just like now they don't want the establishment. And that's like why, this situation with the GOP and all this division, I think, is going to really cause a lot of damage in the midterms, right? Because people don't want to go back to the old days. So regarding your question, so I worked for Ben Carson. Then I joined Trump's campaign, and there was an ongoing surveillance operation into various Republican candidates at that point. That's why I bring up Ben Carson first. Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, some of these other guys that had, a small chance of beating Clinton were already being surveilled upon. So what happened? So I joined Trump's campaign, and then the British government and Australian government is like, oh, you're a foreign policy advisor on this campaign. Can you meet with us in London? That's obviously, where they're from, right? They're British. So they lured me out there with a 5-star hotel accommodation, flights.
Were you feeling anything at that time where your spidey senses already going off, or were you just like, business as usual?
Yeah, but remember, I was feeling that, but remember when this was going on? This was going on in the spring of 2016. This was all happening in real time. Hindsight's 2020. We could talk about the situation looking back and you could see how weird and bizarre the whole story was. But in real time, I knew immediately that there was something off here. And why was there something off? Because I wasn't talking to enemy countries, problematic, groups, or any people that have historic animosity to our country. I was talking to our so-called closest allies, and these closest allies hated Trump. They hated populism, nationalism, the economic movements, what MAGA stood for. And what MAGA really stands for, and America First is all about, it's about power back to the people and away from the establishment in Washington, D.C., just like it was in Brexit in the UK. That's why the British got out of the European Union, because they wanted to restore credibility to their own borders, their own laws, etc. It was the same situation in America, but they wanted to stop it. And the way to stop it was to frame people and to set people up around a fake narrative that basically was tantamount to treason. There's nothing worse than allegedly working with a foreign government to overthrow your country, right? And that's
right,
what they
100%
say,
right.
And that's what they tried to say Trump and I and other people did. But in reality, what did I just explain? It was Obama and our own government committing treason, working with other governments to do that to us. So that's why this is like not just a domestic issue. I mean, so many people just think, oh, this is just like an FBI scandal. Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, all these idiots, just running amok. It really wasn't that. This was a global effort to take down a populist movement before it ever began, and that's
because
why
they were gearing up for Hillary to be president, and it was going to be the 16-year plan with Obama, Hillary.
But that's exactly what it was, right? I mean, so Trump. I mean, even more important than Trump, it's the ideas, right? Because Trump is one man. It's about the ideas. It's about sovereignty, nationalism versus globalism. Not allowing the global reset to be implemented, to go against all of these globalist agendas from, the Project 2030 agendas, this woke nonsense, promoting all of these crazy agendas that you've seen domestically around the world. So Obama wanted his third term and a continuation of that because it couldn't have been implemented properly unless Clinton won. And that's why Obama basically went haywire and actually set this entire operation in motion.
So Obama was behind. That's why Trump puts out all roads lead to Obama.
Yeah, of course. I mean, think about what we're talking about here, right? And that's why, the most important thing I started this conversation with was this wasn't an investigation, it was an operation, right? And this wasn't simply an FBI run amok. This was a global effort leveraging the most powerful globalist institutions and intelligence agencies with unlimited money, unlimited time, and unlimited manpower to take down a candidate and a president and his team and ultimately rewrite history and to basically throw this populist movement into the dustbin of history so that there would never be a new one that would emerge, right? Because think about what would have happened. Just imagine if they got away with what they did. Populism.
It would have been a wrap. It would have been done.
Populism, just like they tried to do to some of these populist movements in Europe. They said, oh, the Russians were helping them. Oh, the Chinese were buying them out. Oh, the Iranians or whatever. It was all about tarnishing these movements as some sort of, external bought out fake movements that were just like harmful to America, harmful to the UK, harmful to various countries in Europe that are all promoting socialism, open borders, wokeism, illegal immigration, and destroying their historical nations, right? So that's really why this became a global issue, not an FBI issue. And that's really why we're starting to see people like DNI Gabbard, Trump say this wasn't about Peter Strzok or the FBI. This was about Obama. This wasn't about Comey only. This was about Brennan. So when you put Brennan, Comey, and Obama together, what does that look like? It's a conspiracy. It's a criminal conspiracy utilizing the most powerful levers of government to defraud the US people of their right to vote and their right to pick who they want to govern them. And that's ultimately why, all of these movements now are heating up, including just today, with new subpoenas going out, with Comey under fire, with Obama, feeling the heat now. This is all coming at the right moment, and I couldn't be more excited.
I feel like in order for these subpoenas to happen and arrests to happen, Trump had to neutralize a lot of threats, because we know the deep state, they have a lot of cards up their sleeves. And if they hit the panic button, it could be taking out our infrastructure, false flag attacks, all kinds of things that they would try to use to divert America's attention, or distract, or just throw the whole chess game up and say, we won. And I think that's why the ICE raids happened first. When Trump was being sworn in, the ICE raids began immediately. And then he took out Maduro, which we all know Maduro, Smartmatic, the whole thing, the Dominion machines, that's all linked. And then now he's taking out the threat of Iran. Do you think he's taking the right steps, neutralizing these threats before the subpoenas come out and the arrests happen?
Yeah, so one of the most important things, I would say the most important thing of his first year in office, was actually attempting, or actually going towards a process of securing America in the Western Hemisphere. See, people thought that renegotiating trade with Canada, with Mexico, this Greenland situation, and the Venezuela overthrow of Maduro were just all random, isolated events. It was actually part of a prolonged strategy.
An operation, correct?
It was an operation. So by going to Greenland, right, and he actually secured American interests in Greenland. Remember that whole situation where he was saying, I'm going to take Greenland over. I want it as American territory. De facto, Denmark gave America sovereignty over parts of Greenland to do whatever we want on Greenland right now. So just people have to understand that wasn't like some sort of random thing that went nowhere. America actually got what it wanted out of Greenland without firing a single shot and without spending a penny over there. Secondly, regarding the economic trade agreements with Mexico and Canada, that was all about sealing the border, the northern border and the southern border, to assure that we're not only getting the right people in this country, but the right goods and services in this country, and to repatriate jobs. There's a lot of bad stuff is coming through both borders. It's not just the Mexico border. It's a lot of bad stuff coming through Canada as well. And Canada right now is essentially becoming a Chinese satellite.
Right.
That's something people aren't really talking about. The issue that Canada has become for America. They just always focus on Mexico. It's not just Mexico. It's Canada equally as bad. Then you go to Venezuela, and you have the situation with Dominion, Smartmatic, Maduro, drugs, trafficking, bad people in Venezuela coming through the border. He takes them out. He secured America in the Western Hemisphere. Now you got to go to abroad, right? You got to go to Iran. You got to make sure that we can't have any destabilization in the Middle East, in Europe, etc., because you need to have a calm situation for all of this stuff to come out, or else people won't understand what the hell is going on. And that's really why he had to do all of this leading up to the grand finale, which, in my opinion, the biggest and most important issue for MAGA and America First, even more important than the economy. Seriously, because the economy is cyclical. It goes up and down. People lose money in the stock market. They gain money. It's about restoring credibility, justice, a one-tier justice system in this country, and accountability, so that people really feel that they're not victims of the deep state, and that somebody in Washington is actually fighting their fight for them. And that's why this issue is so important, and why I think he had to do all of that in year one to get us to where we are now, so that we can actually fulfill the promise.
So this is happening in operational phases. This isn't just like, hey, I just feel like going to war with Iran. This is neutralizing threats, and because the globalists were going to use Iran for a World War III scenario at such a time as now, correct?
Yeah, I mean, see, this is what they have been planning for a very long time. And this is, I was just on Steve Bannon's show yesterday talking about the situation with Iran. We really need to focus on geoeconomics, not geopolitics. We have to find a constructive deal with Iran. Because at the end of the day, Iran isn't, some sort of, it's not some guys in sandals living in caves in Afghanistan herding goats. This is a sophisticated nation of over 80 million people. It's been around for over 3,000 years, right? And they're very, as you can see in the way the war has been waged, they're not going down without a fight. They're actually trying to take down the whole world with them. That's not really in the interests of America right now to go into this hornet's nest. So that's why I think today Trump was very smart to release a statement saying, we're having these productive talks. We're not going to go hit them. They're not going to hit us. And we're going to find a deal, because we can't have instability in the Middle East if we want to take care of business at home. But
he was planning on hitting their power plants. Has that changed?
That changed. That changed, and that's why it's incredibly important, because we can't have these distractions abroad if we're going to be talking about going after a former president like Obama who tried to overthrow this government. There's too much info out there, right? And that's why, you know, when I try to speak and when I come on your amazing show, when I try to simplify things and keep it, you know, concise, because we got to focus on the real things that matter, and the real things that matter are America. The real things that matter are about restoring credibility and justice in this country, the economy, our sovereignty, and to make us strong enough to actually go against any future globalist agendas and movements that might come after Trump, which they likely will. They're not going to go down without a fight. I mean, these people have been waiting for dozens and dozens of years to implement their worldview, not their American view. And that's why that's the fight of our lifetime.
And that's where my sights are set now. And I don't know how you feel about this, but TPUSA, I see it as a hijacked organization after Charlie Kirk's assassination. I kind of am watching what's going on there, and I'm saying, oh, that would be brilliant for them to hijack the right, divide the right, fracture the right. And if you go against them, well, hey, you're just not a believer in Jesus. You know, this is where I see this going. What's your thoughts? Where do you see the next problem arising in a post-Trump era? Like, who do you see being the successor? Is it Vance? What do you see on the horizon from your point of view, your vantage point?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, because we have to start thinking about the future, right? I mean, we have not only a midterm right around the corner, but, you know, President Trump is likely not running again, right? Unless there's something that happens in the Constitution. I mean, I hope he runs again. Because
I mean, I think once this 2020 stuff comes out, he may have the right to do so. Will he? I don't know. But I think when all this comes out and they show the Russia hoax and the 2020 election, the 24, how they tried to do it then, I think there's going to be a lot of reasons why he can run again, but we'll see.
But no, that's very important. I mean, for people to understand, right? Because the whole argument this entire time from the left and the Democrats has been that he's been an illegitimate guy or candidate president. But in reality, with what you just said and what we're talking about here, it actually not only vindicates him, but it vindicates the movement, and it could potentially affect the laws in this nation, right? Including the Save America Act, how the elections are secured moving forward. Because if nothing matters if elections don't matter at the end of the day, right? If you don't have free and fair elections, if people could just walk into this country and vote illegally, and Joe Schmo from God knows where can say he's John Smith and vote in California where I live or wherever. This country, it's a banana republic, right? So the elections are the most important thing to secure. So with all of what we're talking about here from 2016, then the January 6th shenanigans, the fake impeachment 1.0, the 2.0, and now reports that they might drop info that China was basically interfering in the 2020 election on behalf of Biden with drop ballots and all this type of stuff. This is coming directly from sources in Washington. It's not just, this isn't conspiracy theories. This could really affect how he might potentially run a third time, because the people will say he was robbed of his first term,
and they interfered with all of his his presidency.
So I mean, it really does set that up to happen. Now, regarding the other issues about if he doesn't run, right? Me personally, I don't like to see Christianity, because I'm a Christian, but I believe and I live my life as a Christian. I don't need to pontificate or talk about it on a daily basis in my political views. And that's something that when I see it happening overwhelmingly in some of these groups, it looks fake. It just really does. And I think that hurts the message of Jesus. I think it hurts the message of Christianity in America. And I think that's really why a lot of these groups are seeing a decline in popularity and a decline in support as well, because they're losing the message, right?
You know, if you're the deep state, if you're thinking like they are, right, and in their mindset, well, you wouldn't come at us with the left anymore because the left is losing. You'd infiltrate the right, fracture the right, and come at us in that direction, and you would use religion. You would use Jesus, right? Yeah. That's what I would do. If I was going to fracture the right, I'd be like, man, we're going after them. Let's fracture the evangelicals, the Catholics, the Christians, all of them together. Let's fracture it. And that's what I see happening with this, and this is just my opinion, but I'm very vocal about it. I don't know your opinion, but I'm not scared. I'm not worried about it. I think that's what they're doing with TPUSA, and I think that's going to be the battleground. We've already seen it with Vance hugging Erica Kirk. I have a really bad sneaky suspicion, as Judge Joe Brown would say, or sneaky suspicion that this is all coming, and I can see it a mile away, and I think most people can. I can smell it, and that's how they would divide and conquer, right?
I mean, look, there's definitely something odd going on in the movement, because so many of these so-called personalities in MAGA or America First, they're trying to think that they're a little bigger than they really are, right? And they're trying to actually burn the tent that they grew up in, right? Or that made them into what they think that they really are. And the question really is, are they being paid to do this? Are they real believers in what they're doing? Where did a lot of this talk come from, right? From a lot of these issues that you're seeing. And what's the point of attacking your fellow conservatives right before the midterms and actually making this all about inner fighting instead of attacking the Democrats? I mean, I'm very visible on X. I'm very active on X. And all I see on my algorithm are attacks among conservatives. I have no idea what the Democrats are doing. I have no idea who their potential leaders are, or how bad they're governing, or why they're so unpopular, because all I see are attacks amongst each other, amongst the conservatives. And that's something that it looks intentional at this point to not only divide the movement, but to lose elections moving forward and to potentially destroy MAGA the way that the intelligence community wanted to in 2016 before it became what it is today. So that's really what we have to start being a little suspicious about. Why try to attack an entire movement and burn it to the ground when you have no other solutions, unless you're being paid or you're an officer of some sort of group that is designed to harm this movement? I don't see any alternatives, right? I see a lot of people talking about what they talk about, but I don't see alternatives. I just see personal attacks, ad hominem attacks. I see a lot of, ideas that make no sense, but with people that don't actually want to jump in the game and run for office and really make a change. At the end of the day, you could agree or disagree with Trump. The guy decided to run, and he was elected, I would say, 3 times at a time when he really didn't have to be president, right? So some of his ideas have evolved, like everybody's ideas have evolved. Some have remained the same. I would say the overwhelming majority of his ideas have been the same since the 80s, including with Iran, with China, with trade, with all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, we have to be a little suspicious about how these groups are operating, because I don't know if all of them are designed for the good of the conservative movement.
Let's talk about Robert Mueller. Do you believe his death is suspicious? How are you looking at Robert Mueller's exit? Suspicious to you or not at all?
I mean, look, Robert Mueller was the most scandalous, disgraceful FBI director, whatever this guy touched, he destroyed. And it was all by design. People think, oh, he was just like this bad dude. No, the guy was actually the archetype of the deep state. He was the manifestation of the deep state. And what does the deep state do? It reverse engineers crimes to then solve them, or to frame people in order to then go about an agenda. He did that from his time as a prosecutor to an FBI director to the special counsel. It was his modus operandi. So this guy was never investigating things. He was literally there to secure the deep state, to assure that no one would investigate the deep state. He would cover up illegal activities of the state, and he was their henchman at the end of the day. And he was extremely close to taking out Trump. If they were able to squeeze me or just a couple other guys a little bit,
yeah, dude,
and make me talk a little BS or say this or that at a time when no one knew what the hell was really going on, there would be no MAGA movement. History would have been completely rewritten. I probably would have been sitting in prison for God knows how long, like other people like Flynn and Manafort and probably Trump himself, the way that they wanted to throw him in prison. And it was all designed knowing that they set the whole thing in motion. So what does that tell you about the type of people that the mainstream media and the left and the Democrats are actually hoisting up as like examples of exemplary behavior in America? It's actually horrifying. So,
and that's a good point. If you didn't have a backbone, George, you alone, just you, if you would have folded, if you just would have folded, we'd be in a completely different situation right now in America.
You know, I mean, I don't want to pat myself on the back because this isn't about me. It's about the country, and it's about, you know, patriots that love America. But in reality, when they say being stuck between a rock and a hard place, I was really stuck between a rock and a very hard place where I was being squeezed to basically, in exchange for some sort of fake freedom, right? Because at the end of the day, right, you have to look at yourself in the mirror, and you have to look at yourself as a man and say, what kind of man do I want to be? Post jail, before jail, in my life, do you want to go the route of a Michael Cohen and just spew lies and try to perjure yourself just to escape some sort of, you know, accountability or whatever, and then disgrace yourself? Or do you want to be a man, know the truth, take a hit, and come out a fighter and a winner in the end? And I took the latter choice. And that's why when they were trying to tell me, you're a young guy, you have a beautiful girlfriend, now she's my wife, move on with your life, just tell us what you want about this guy, you have nothing to do with him now, obviously, so we're not going to bother you anymore, but just tell us X, Y, Z, and we'll leave you alone. I said, I can't tell you X, Y, and Z because it's not the truth. And this is at a time, which is even more important, where I had all my former allies going against me. I had the mainstream media hitting me, even the conservative media was hitting me, and I still didn't break because I knew at the end of the day how big this story was and that I had some role in exposing it. What at the end, we'll see how big that role is. I think it's going to be a very big role. And I stuck to that, and I'm very happy I did. And now we're finally getting some justice and transparency, and we have to keep up the pressure to make sure that they go all the way.
So it says the official report, including the Mueller report and the 𝗬𝗏 Inspector General report, concluded the FBI had sufficient predication to open the investigation. Papadopoulos' statements to the Australian diplomat were a key trigger. But there was no evidence the FBI planted information with him. What do you have to say about that? It says, however, the Inspector General did find procedural errors in parts of the broader investigation, especially surveillance of another advisor, not Papadopoulos.
So I'm glad you brought up that investigation and Mueller's investigation, because there was the John Durham investigation that happened after that that refuted everything you just said. And that's why it's extremely important for people to understand that we are now in like chapter 5 of this story. So
how many chapters are there?
It's like a book, right? We're writing a book, just like my book, Deep State Target, has chapters. This is like a chapter of evolving investigations after 10 years. It's unprecedented, right? We've never had this many investigations. But let's start from the beginning. Comey, 1. Mueller, 2. 𝗬𝗏, that you just referred to as 3. 4, John Durham, and 5, the current investigation with Patel and Ratcliffe and all these people. So what was the most important thing that Durham did? Durham said that that was a lie, that the way that Mueller and 𝗬𝗏 said things started was a lie. And secondly, that there were more agencies involved. And third, that the whole thing started in Italy and London, not the way that they said. And that's why Durham was unable to go all the way, because Biden kept things classified. So when Durham went and testified and they were talking about the situation, he said, yes, I indicted some people. I refuted the conclusion of 𝗬𝗏 and Mueller about how this thing started, but I couldn't go further because the grand juries couldn't hear this stuff. And that's why now that Trump and Patel and Ratcliffe and Gabbard have declassified this stuff, the grand jury that was just impaneled in Florida could finally hear the truth and get the evidence in front of people to see what happened and to actually indict them and to hear the full story without classification or things being buried or things being obscured or hidden from the truth. That is why what's going on currently is so important, and why we're in the final chapter of this saga, because finally people have access to the files that have been hidden for a decade.
So do you think Robert Mueller's death is going to throw some kind of monkey wrench into this? And could we see others disappear like Comey? I mean, are they going to die? I mean, what's going on here?
Look, man, I don't wish bad on anyone. You know, I think at the end of the day, Mueller is dealing with a lot of issues in the afterlife on his own, that he, because of the type of disgusting person he was on this earth, right? Yeah,
I believe that too.
I mean, I really do, because you can't.
Do you think in your mind, did Did he die of natural? I heard he was a raging alcoholic. I mean, did he die of natural causes? I mean, did he get taken out? Do you think there's just a lot of suspicious activity around him? I mean, Hillary's involved. I mean, come on.
Look, the reason that why this situation is actually so unique and fascinating is because, for example, the JFK stuff, right? It all was declassified, and the MLK stuff was declassified, and even UFO stuff, if you want to call it, was all declassified decades after basically everybody was dead. So there was no one left. The majority of these people are alive, and most are well, except for Mueller, at a time when they're declassifying all this stuff, and they're actually going to be witnesses. It's like we're living history. We're not like looking back 30 years from now and saying, oh, that weird story about Russia, and they declassified some stuff, it was nonsense, blah blah. We're living the moment, and we're actually witnessing in real time how that these people are actually going to go down for what they did, and they're not going to escape accountability for the worst treasonous act that America's ever seen. So regarding what happened to him, I don't know. The guy was 81. They say he was a raging alcoholic. He had dementia. I mean, he wasn't obviously 100% there during the Mueller testimony. He didn't even know what the investigation was about. He clearly wasn't running the show. I never met Mueller. As far as I know, no one met Mueller, including President Trump. He just had these Democrat henchmen like Weissman and all these other idiots harassing us. Those were the people that were running the show. But Comey's young. I mean, relatively young. I think he's in his 60s. Brennan, I think, is in his 60s, even though he looks like he's about 90. And they're feeling the heat now. And they're under criminal investigation. The grand jury's been impaneled. They've been subpoenaed. And I think ultimately the real target isn't them, it's Obama.
Right. It's like Trump has that taste of blood on him. He's right on his ass, man. He's coming for Obama. I mean, we can all see that plain as day. Do you see now that Iran, we're kind of, it kind of looks like we could be wrapping things up with Iran. I believe that. I don't think this is going to be, at least as while Trump is in office, I don't see this war playing out as long as it could. I think maybe when he's out of office, it could stir back up again because these people believe in jihad and forever war, and I think it could start right back up again. But do you see this getting wrapped up and justice coming? Do you feel that coming? Are you hearing things that justice is coming, arrests will be coming?
Yeah, let's start with Iran. I predict that this isn't going to be a war that's going to last much longer. It's just very simple, right? It goes completely against what Trump has stood for and what he really believes in his worldview, right? I mean, war is really a low IQ approach to life. I mean, anybody could hit somebody in the face and attack somebody, but the high IQ and the strategists and people who really want to be remembered in history for the right things, they strategize and think outside the box, right? Because anybody could go to war. We saw it in Iraq. We saw it in Afghanistan. We've seen it. It does nothing at the end of the day. It hurts our image. It costs us money. Our troops die. Civilians die. And in the end, you could really get what you want through negotiations at a very high level and a very high IQ level. So what I think he's really doing here is he's looking at China as the ultimate threat. And he's looking at all of these maneuvers, including what he did in the Western Hemisphere, to this deal with Iran now as a process towards handicapping China. Iran is China's oil source. A lot of their energy goes to China. China's a big investor in Iran. And China's using Iran to basically mess with the US dollar, the petrodollar, and the free movement of goods, services, and oil in the Middle East and around the world. So Trump knows that. So he says, instead of me trying to go to war with 80 million people and people that have been around for 3,000 years and a regime that's likely not going to go away, let me get Iran out of China's orbit. Let's incentivize Iran to be closer to us. Maybe we'll come up with a deal, production sharing with their oil and natural gas. Maybe we'll get them out of China's, pipeline and transport system, integrate them with one that we're promoting in the West, and then we'll isolate China. And we'll bring Iran into the game without having to use drones, ballistic missiles, or blockades. That's the high IQ, real approach that I think Trump ultimately is going to take, and why I think this is going to stop relatively soon, which I think is in the interest of the world. Regarding justice and accountability, I absolutely 1,000% believe it's happening because the stakes are way too high. You can't have DNI Gabbard and Trump President Trump go public and say that Obama was a treasonous person, part of a treasonous conspiracy, and just let that go for nowhere. I mean, that's a serious allegation that's never been made by a president against a former president. And we've also never had a former president try to block the smooth transition of power between his successor, like Obama did to Trump. So they're going to go all the way. I think it's going to really galvanize the voters going into the midterms, because people have been demanding this for 10 years, right? We're on 10 year. We're on year
Right.
10. And I think it's going to help the midterms. And I think the Republicans will win as long as the war with Iran does not go into the summer, and as long as they really go after people like Comey, Brennan, and at least indict them and potentially arrest them.
Right. So I think we'll see a first arrest before. I think Brennan maybe. What's your thoughts, Brennan? Would you think that'd be the first maybe arrest before the midterms?
Yeah. So Comey and Brennan were simultaneously put under criminal investigation the same day. And why was that important? Because when you're putting together a criminal conspiracy case, you need two parties, at least two parties, to be part of it. You can't say James Comey alone acted in a conspiracy. You have to show that two or more people were part and parcel of an operation or a criminal act to do something illegal against a person or the United States of America. So I think that the person that's ultimately in the crosshairs, more so than Brennan and even Comey, it's really Obama. And I think the reason that they have been subpoenaed and why you haven't seen them yet indicted is because unfortunately I've gone through this process, right? I know how it kind of works in the legal system when they're building cases. You don't subpoena the guy that you really want to indict or convict. You use them as witnesses building up a major case. And the way that they went after Brennan and Comey to subpoena them first is because they're trying to get to Obama and they're trying to get to higher level people, including potentially Rosenstein, who was at the AG office, and other people that were running the show, like Loretta Lynch and others at the Department of Justice. So will they be indicted? I predict both Comey and Brennan will be indicted, but they're being utilized now for testimony against Obama and people at the Department of Justice under Obama too.
You know, it says here, Chinese spokeswoman Miao Ning, maybe I'll say it properly, Miao Ning, on whether her country is exporting military or dual-use materials to Iran. China opposes the illegal military strikes against Iran by Israel and the United States in violation of international law. Supports Iran in safeguarding its sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity and national dignity, and supports Iran in protecting its legitimate rights and interests. So there's China. You know, I mean, there you go. They're saying, you know, we are behind Iran. I mean, this is going to cause, I mean, we're obviously on a trajectory to go against, I mean, we are in a shadow war with China now, and they're using, and Iran is basically the proxy, right?
I mean, it's exactly what I was just saying, right? And what I predicted, you know, for a long time. Just like the Ukraine-Russia thing was basically a proxy war between Russia and NATO, that ultimately, at the end of the day, it caused a lot of devastation, but Russia is going to get what they want out of Ukraine. So it really affected, you know, NATO's credibility and the situation in Ukraine. It's the same thing now. This is a proxy war between the United States and China in Iran. And China has invested billions of dollars in Iran. They're not going to let Iran fall easily. So the only way you could actually get Iran out of China's grasp is by giving them alternatives, not by bombing them. Because if you keep bombing them, China's going to support them. And then this is going to continue on and on.
What's your thoughts on, you know, I've heard that we're sending troops there because we want Iran to revolt. We want them to take back their government. And that's what we're hoping for. At least that's what Bibi Netanyahu was hoping for, and Trump. Do you see that happening, or especially if our military boots on the ground is there?
No. Look, there was even a report that just came out today in the New York Times, right? This isn't even a friendly newspaper to anybody in the conservative movement. And they said basically that the 3,000 people that died recently in those riots in Iran were basically manufactured up. These were not like organic. So what is the truth in Iran, right? You have a country that took over power with their current regime in '79 after the Islamic Revolution. They've basically been sanctioned. They've been isolated from the world, from global trade, and they've had successive U.S. governments basically cripple their economy, and now you have them being bombed, but the regime is still there. So what does that really say? It shows that there isn't the support domestically to overthrow the regime, right? And actually what bombing Iran is actually doing is it's galvanizing support for the regime. Because at the end of the day, being bombed from a foreign government, no matter how much you hate your government, you're going to still support your own nation, unless you're a complete traitor. Because imagine the United States, right? Let's say you hate the president, but
I think people are just too scared to go against the regime, man. I mean, people are being executed. They're just too. No one wants to be first. Nobody wants to be hero.
Well, let's assume that's the truth, or the alternative is that the riots were manufactured, like the New York Times said. At the end of the day, it's not our business what Iran does. I don't care what Iran does. I don't care how they govern their own nation. I don't care what the people in Afghanistan do. It's not my business. I live in the United States, and I have my own system of governance here, and I care how I live in this country. I can't force change to people that don't want it. You can't bomb your way into democracy or regime change. And for me, as somebody who cares about our military a lot, I don't want to see our men and women get killed in a situation, in a country that's 3 times the size of Iraq, that's going to take hundreds of thousands of troops potentially to even have a chance to overthrow that regime. And Iraq didn't have countries like China backing them the way that Iran currently does. So this isn't the same situation the way we went after some guys in caves and goat herders in Afghanistan, or some guys that weren't really willing to fight in Iraq. Iran has demonstrated they're here to fight to the death. They're going to take down the global economy along with us if this continues. So let's be a little smarter. Let's negotiate our way out of this. Let's get Iran away from China, and let's make some business and affect the world.
Or bomb them into the dark ages. You got 2 options, because Trump has said if they don't fully open with the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from that exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate the various power plants. Now, I know this has changed. I know this has changed since then. But he made the threat saying, hey, I'll go after your power plants, starting with the biggest one first. I mean, that's the wild card. Trump has that wild card. They're like, damn, we don't know what he's going to do. I mean, is he brilliant or is he fucking crazy? I mean,
but look what happened. But what happened, though, right? Just today, from what you're reading there, he says we had good talks. We had very productive talks. So now I'm not going to hit their plants or their production facilities. That's what came.
But you're negotiating with terrorists, George. You can't negotiate with terrorists.
Look, at the end of the day, like I said, I'm not here supporting them. Actually, I despise the regime and everything they stand for. But what they do in their country is not my business. I have to look out for what's in the interest of the United States. And is it in the interest of the United States to continue this war with a country that has shown that they're willing to go all the way to hit 12 different countries, to potentially attack America in Los Angeles, where I live, all for what purpose, really? To have some sort of overthrow of a regime to be replaced with what? Gaddafi was overthrown in Libya, and we have terrorists running that country right now. Gaddafi wasn't a good guy, but look at Libya today. It's basically a shithole run by various terrorist groups. Look at Iraq. Saddam wasn't a good guy. I wouldn't want to live in Iraq. But what's the alternative? It was run by ISIS and all these situations. Bashar al-Assad in Syria, the same thing. He wasn't a good guy, but now you have a former terrorist running Syria and various jihadists running there. I mean, you can't just simply replace one bad group with another bad group. And we have no guarantee that if we overthrow this regime, that we're going to have some freedom-loving, American-loving, Western-loving group that's going to take power in Iran. We don't know. And it's not in our interest to even try that experiment, because it's failed in so many different ways, the way that I just explained, in 3 different other countries.
George, I don't want to keep you much longer, but let's answer some super chats. And I'm going to ask you live on air. Do you want to be a general in the general tent on @Nino'sCorner.tv in the next few months as this progresses?
Absolutely, brother, all the time.
Oh, yeah, that's great, because I know my audience is going to want to ask you questions. So on @Nino'sCorner.tv, I'll bring you on, and you can ask. We'll field questions to you from the audience, and you can answer or pass whatever questions you want. But you don't mind doing that for my audience?
Yep, happy to.
All right. So let's take some super chats, Alex, from the audience. 𝗬𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗪 comes through again. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Sometimes they're just stickers, George. George. Team America. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. You got to have fun with this stuff. All right. Carrie Micah. Thank you for everything you do, Nino. Could you invite Derek Johnson on again? Yeah, absolutely. I'll reach out to him. Any questions for George? We need questions for George. Big Shot Blues. Nothing can stop what's coming. Sometimes they're just comments, George. That's sometimes just the extent of it. Thank you so much, Big Shot. And I guess that's it. Well, all right. You get off early. George, so I'll see you at the General's tent. We'll coordinate that. Thank you for joining me on this segment. I really appreciate you stopping by, man. I love your intel, your opinions. Very educated guy. Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Anytime. Thanks again for having me.
God bless you. All right, folks. That was George Papadopoulos. That was an epic podcast. And now, folks, I'm going to go ahead and get to some other news here. Charlie Kirk's mentor dies after freak pickleball accident. Now, I was going to make this what the fuck news, but this is just, I don't know anymore. I really don't know anymore what's going on. Charlie Kirk's longtime mentor has died following a bizarre pickleball accident. And I think about all the punches I've took to the head over my lifetime. And someone dies in a pickleball accident. Are you serious? Oh, gosh. Jeff Webb, 76, died after falling while playing pickleball and suffered a severe injury. The 76-year-old was hospitalized after the accident until his family chose to take him off life support. Webb was an influential figure in the world of cheerleading, founding the Universal Cheerleading Association, the Varsity Spirit, and later led Varsity Brands, which grew into a multi-billion-dollar company. Do any of you find this suspicious? I don't know. He was also a conservative activist at Turning Point USA CEO Charlie Kirk, who was shot and killed later in the year. Webb stood with Kirk's family at the White House when the late activist was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom after Kirk's death. I don't know, folks. What's your thoughts on this? Suspicious, dying in a pickleball accident. I mean, they can make it look like anything, right? They just print it and say that's the way he died. I don't know. Also, folks, OnlyFans founder has died. The OnlyFans founder. Jeez. Leonard 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏. Okay, let's say it right. Leonard 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏. The Ukrainian-American billionaire owner of the adult subscription platform OnlyFans has died at the age of 43 after a long battle with cancer. 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 purchased the company in 2018 and transformed it into a major adult content platform, overseeing massive growth in both users and revenue. Man, I don't know. But let's get to some what the fuck news. In what the fuck news, juicier steaks on the menu after gene-edited cow feed is approved. So now we're all eating this junk, folks. This is just what it is now. This is why you have to take care of your health, get on the red light panels, take supplements, do whatever you can to stop this bombardment of gene editing, chemicals in the air, chemicals in the water, chemicals in our food. Juicier steaks could soon be served up after barley was given the go-ahead to become Britain's first gene-edited crop. In an effort to fatten up cows and get them to market faster, scientists have altered the DNA of Golden Promise barley to increase its fat content. It can now be submitted to the Food Standards Agency, which assesses its safety. If accepted, it will be the UK's first gene-edited crop that can be sold. So now, and folks, you know this is probably already happening here. I don't know what to think anymore. I don't know what to do. I mean, it's like there's so many landmines out there for all of us, right? We're like dodging and weaving and bobbing and moving and trying to just stay alive. They're out to kill us. That's just all for profit. For we need the profit. Let's fatten the cows so we could push them out there faster and have faster profit. Yes, that sounds brilliant. Gene editing crops. Edited crops. telling you, man, the only thing I see for this dystopian nightmare of a future, hopefully it doesn't happen, but they'll be growing babies in test tubes and they'll have no connection to the mother and will be held in containers and probably grow to full maturity in 6 months to a year, like the clones, and just no souls. And I think that's what they want. I think that's what they want. And they will manage us, manage all of us. It's crazy. I don't know. I'm watching this AI stuff, folks, and I don't know. I don't know how you all feel about it, but I think it's going to be great for the next 5-10 years, and then something weird only gets weirder. You know, I don't know. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for joining me today. Alex, are you there? Oh, the timer goes off. Can't hear you, Alex. Are you there?
Oh, hey, Nina. Yeah.
There you are. All right, cool. So what do you think of the show? That was a great show with George, huh?
Man, fantastic show with George. Yeah, he's just a wealth of information, really lays it all out. I can't believe it's been a decade-long saga now with this Russiagate stuff, man.
And dude, it all matches up with the drops. I don't want to say the word, but the letter in the alphabet, but it matches up.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, it's crazy. You can't help but be a believer in it when stuff like this adds up. I mean, so was Robert Mueller taken out? Did he naturally die? Who knows, man, but there's something there, dude. There's something there. And I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it. But Alex, man, thank you so much. What did you think of Trader Girl last night?
Oh yeah, that was another great show. Yeah, people should tune into that. And I mean, man, like you said, it's kind of like a beautiful mind type thing, these connections that she makes. And it's just like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I try to like scout for these people that I find interesting and bring them on the show, because I think it benefits the audience. I think everyone has a piece of the puzzle or a piece to add to the big picture, to the puzzle, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's really why I bring these people on, and I try to bring credible people on like 𝗀𝗧 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶 mixed within other personalities to give us all a bigger picture. So, folks, there is a waiting list on 𝗦𝗻�corner.tv right now. We're trying to get to everybody. We've had some major attacks on the site, and it's been tough. It's been really, really hard, but we're getting to it today. Hopefully we get everyone signed up today. If not, then, you know, there is a waiting list. So 𝗦𝗻�corner.tv, also Ringside with Nina Wednesday, this Wednesday at 5 p.m. And then Daniel Brinkley is the general's tent. And you just heard 𝗀𝗧 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶 will be a general as well. So we're going to have great talks and general's tents. So, Alex, thank you so much for everything. And folks, that's it.
Later, everyone.
And the new heavyweight champion of podcasting and the black sheep of broadcasting, baby. Yeah.